Ask yourself this in Carl Jung's psychology: the most dangerous sign isn't depression or fear. It's the moment you feel absolutely certain. When certainty slams shut like a steel door, the mind stops listening. And right then an ancient force slips in wearing the face of a savior, a judge or a sage, speaking with your voice, borrowing your hands and making choices for you. Familiar, this isn't mere faulty logic. It's the ego swollen with archetypal energy, turning every feedback from life into a threat. Before we go on, place a hand on your chest and name what you're carrying for someone else. What shifts in your body as you imagine returning that emotional luggage to its owner? Not angrily, just healthily. If you feel even 1 degree lighter, this path is for you. In the next segment, we'll go deeper into 5 essentials, distinguishing empathy from fusion, spotting when a complex has seized the wheel, understanding the law of reversal, unmasking the savior voice that has turned into an inner prosecutor, and building your alchemical vessel with clear, humane boundaries. Stay with me, because sometimes the day the empath breaks is the day you stop carrying other people's lives and begin living the part of life that has always been yours. You've seen it at the dinner table, where each sentence becomes new tinder for an old flame, at work where the rescuer role drains you while you still feel nobly right, in the spiritual path where I'm awakened quietly hardens into another mask. Jung would say the ego has fallen into the orbit of an archetype, an invisible field of gravity. The signs are subtle: the loss of humor, an allergy to criticism, a fate-like obsession with right-wrong, and a righteous mission that urges you to speak and live on behalf of everyone else. In that state, the shadow, the parts of you you've refused, puts on other people's faces, so you see the bad guys everywhere but in yourself. The more certain you are, the farther you drift from center. The more sacred your idea feels, the harsher you become toward the human in front of you. But you are not a bad person. You're simply gripping a sword too heavy for your hand. The danger is this: an inflated ego can't self-correct. It can't hear the quiet voice of dreams or catch the warning symbols: locked basements, cracked mirrors, the eyes of a wild animal in the dark. Then life does what life does. It bends, breaks, and reroutes you, an abrupt polarity flip from pride to collapse. If you've ever awakened to empathy after a long streak of being so right, you've tasted the aftershock. So the task isn't to destroy that power, it's to place it in the right vessel. Name it. This is archetypal energy. It is not the whole of me. Return it to dialogue instead of letting it monologue. Transmute power into service through small grounded acts: cooking dinner, making an apology call, walking without devices. You'll feel your breath soften and the blurry border between me and my mission thin like mist in early light. If you're living in America amid speed competition and polarization, this is not a warning. It's an invitation to return to center, where humor comes back. Curiosity reopens, and the heart is wide enough to hold both right and wrong strength and tenderness. Now let me say it plainly. Empaths don't break because they're weak. They break because they've been carrying too much that isn't theirs. If your chest just got heavy as if someone finally named what you've known all along. Listen closely. At the deepest level, when we try to be good by absorbing everyone's waves, our coworker's tension, a relative's chaos, a partner's instability, we trade away something invisible yet priceless: boundaries. The sudden snap you dread that isn't a catastrophe, it's the unconscious sounding the alarm that a complex has taken the wheel, that your soul has been standing outside your own life for too long. Jung reminds us what's disowned doesn't disappear. It returns wearing the mask of fate. When empaths live one-sided, feeling others' pain while starving their own truth, the river of the unconscious floods its banks. You dissolve into the collective emotion like hypothermia in a night sea, first the warmth of connection, then the ice of exhaustion. The snap is the psyche's pendulum swing. The harder you grip the savior role, the more violently you swing toward its opposite, cold, angry, even cruel. Yet under that black phase lies the raw material of transformation. Symbolically, this is the negredo, not punishment, but heat sufficient to melt tight old roles and clear a path toward a sturdier center. Look at the day you broke. How many times before that did you swallow a half sentence in a meeting? How many times did you say yes when your whole body wanted to say no? How often did you put out fires with your silence? This video won't ask you to feel less. It will show you how to feel in the right place so compassion grows a spine. You'll see 5 invisible forces that push empaths toward the edge. 1 fusion that erases the self. 2. The shadow you've pressed down rising like a tide. 3. The stern inner voice of a negative animus/animus image. 4. The pendulum's reversal. And 5. The alchemical vessel. Simple boundaries and rituals that can contain and transform. Picture a steady crucible. Inside feelings are smelted like raw metal. Outside, your life stops catching fire. The aim isn't to make you less sensitive. It's to make your sensitivity wise, to know what's yours and what isn't, when to open and when to close, and how to say the one sentence you need to say in a voice both honest and warm. Americans have a very down-to-earth phrase, walking on eggshells. Live like that long enough and you'll start to think you're being kind. But through Jung's analytic lens, that's often the sign you've stepped out of your own center. Empathy is listening to the world with an open heart. Enmeshment is when that heart loses its edges and turns into a sponge. Empathy helps you meet another. Enmeshment makes you become the other. If you're highly sensitive, the difference can feel as thin as morning mist, and that's exactly where adulthood begins. If this resonates, join our practice of loving with hearts that are both warm and clear. Drop 2 lines in the comments. My feeling right now is, and what I'm picking up from others is. We rate each other to learn to read ourselves. And if you've got a boundary tip that stays kind without going mushy, share it. Your one sentence might save someone's day. Next time, we'll open the hood on what powers those sudden snaps, what it looks like when a complex seizes the steering wheel. We'll explore why nice people's anger often feels outsized, why the psyche whiplashes after long stretches of over-accommodating, and how to turn that pitch-black moment into the first spark of inner alchemy. If this helped you spot a subtle boundary today, stay with me. The shadow ahead isn't here to scare you. It's here to hand you the key to a door you've stood before for years. Jung warned, when the ego stops telling what's mine from what's yours, we slide into a primitive glue he called participation mystique, a kind of undifferentiated fusion. In daily life, it looks ordinary. You check Slack, see a teammate spiraling over a deadline. Your pulse spikes, your stomach knots, you skip lunch, take their tasks, then snap at the barista for the wrong milk. You think you're just tired. In truth, a boundary got erased, and someone else's weather system has settled over your nervous system. Mature empathy doesn't ask you to carry everyone's emotional body temperature. Mature empathy discriminates. This is what I feel. This is what I'm picking up from the shared field. From there, you choose a fitting response. Let me give you 3 short, very American, very universal scenes. Scene 1, Donnie, a hospital social worker in a busy ER. She's so skilled, patients feel anchored the moment she arrives. But lately, she gets home like a chipped mug. Every little sound sets her off. She isn't just hearing stories. She's bringing them home. Scene 2, Ryan, an engineering lead with a junior dev who panics mid-sprint. Each time Ryan jumps in codes, the heavy parts, and by evening, can't even text his partner back. He calls it responsibility. His body calls it intrusion. Scene 3, Lana, the eldest in an immigrant family, an anxious mom, a silent dad. Since high school, she's been the pillar. Now at 33, she apologizes to clients when they're wrong, to her boyfriend when he goes quiet, and to herself for being tired. 3 lives, 1 pattern: sensitivity without a backbone, no logos to name, to sort, to set the line. In Jung's language, a mature feeling function can evaluate and differentiate. This aligns with me that doesn't. When it's immature, it slides into sentimentality. Lots of tears, fuzzy decisions. Big compassion, hollow boundaries. Then a small trigger is enough to wake the complex's autonomous knots of memory emotion. Once a complex grabs the wheel, your nervous system speaks for you. You say what you don't believe. You do what feels driven by someone else inside. That's the empath's snap after too long playing savior to others while starving the savior responsible for the self. How do we stay warm-hearted without dissolving? Try 3 simple moves. Name it, place it, and pace it. Name it, I feel fluttery in my chest and heavy in my belly. The moment you locate a feeling in your body, you're already half a step outside the storm. Place it, ask what percentage is mine and what percentage am I picking up? Don't chase precision, just be honest. Pace it, set a limit, A clear, kind line like, I can listen for 10 minutes, then I need to return to my tasks. Or I can do A, but I can't do B for you. Boundaries aren't brick walls, they're cell membranes. They let in nutrients, keep toxins out, and most of all, preserve identity. Run a 24-hour experiment each time you feel pulled into someone else's storm pause for 30 seconds, hand on sternum, and ask, is this truly me? If the answer is no, imagine placing that emotional bundle on a tray and returning it. No anger, just accurate ownership. You're not being cold, you're quitting the habit of fasting on other people's feelings. One more trick for calendar-heavy American life: schedule your compassion. I can be fully present from 3 hours to 3:30. The rest of the time, do your work. Sensitivity needs structure, like a river needs banks. Also give your language a spine so empathy doesn't collapse. Swap. I'm sorry you feel that way, for I hear this was hard for you. What I can do today is swap. It's fine, I'll handle everything, for I'll own my part and support you up to 20%. You'll need to carry the rest. In the US, people respect clarity. Clarity isn't unkind. It's the highest form of kindness because it prevents resentment later. And yes, there will be days you don't stop in time. A complex hits the switch. The words fly out like arrows. Don't rush into shame. Label it accurately. I was hijacked today. That's not a moral verdict. It's data. Write it down. Before, what did I swallow? What task did I accept that wasn't mine? Who was I trying to please? During what voice spoke in my head, you must save them. Or if you don't help, you're a bad person. After, what did my body report? Cold hands, hot face, racing heart. After a few rounds, a pattern emerges. Where there's a pattern, there's a complex. And where there's a complex, there's an unlived life knocking. When you get this differentiation right, something beautiful happens. You respect others more. You stop saving them at the cost of yourself and return their dignity to stand up on their own. Relationships get cleaner. People want you for your clarity, not because you're easy to use. At work, you're still passionate, but you're not a 24/7 firefighter. At home, you listen without judgment, but you don't swallow anyone's half-digested feelings. Empathy with a spine turns your day from a scorched field into a garden with a fence where every plant has room to grow. Imagine your soul as a cockpit. On most days, the ego, the responsible pilot, guides the plane calmly through life's curves. But sometimes the cockpit door bursts open and an uninvited guest jumps in, grabs the wheel, and slams the gas. Suddenly, your voice rises sharp or icy cold. And afterward, you're left empty, ashamed. Jung called this the complex, a cluster of repressed memories and emotions suddenly activated by a familiar signal. When a complex takes over, you don't snap because you're mean. You snap because a long-abandoned part of you bursts through the door, demanding to live. Intuition. What bigger story is repeating? Doubt, abandonment, rescue. Just one round of these 4 questions cools the system by 30 to 40%. Only then take a small action. Ask for 10 minutes before replying. Walk around the block. Drink a glass of water. Jot down 3 things you want to say and pick the clearest, kindest one. Remember, complexes love speed. You don't win by arguing, you win by slowing down. Second practice, make a complex map. Draw 3 columns. Trigger, story, body, reaction. Emma's example. Trigger, subtle doubt. Story, I'm weak, must prove myself. Body, reaction, hot face, sweeping accusations. Afterward, add a 4th column. Aftercare, a 5-minute reset, breathe, 4, 6, 8. Write 10 lines, call a friend who listens without fixing. Over weeks, patterns emerge. Where there's pattern, there's room for freedom. Third practice, interview the shadow. Write a dialogue. Me, who are you inside me? Shadow, I'm anger keeping you safe by making others fear. Me, what are you protecting? Shadow, dignity, and the right not to prove myself. Me, if I trust you, what's one small action I can take today? Don't expect sweet words. The shadow is raw truth, but when acknowledged, it softens. You don't disappear in dialogue. You integrate energy once exiled. For empaths, a frequent sidekick to the complex is the negative animus, the inner male voice that judges. Do it perfectly. You should have known. It's on you to carry. Notice its signs, absolute words like always or never, and urgency that steals the present. If you don't fix it now, it's all over. Don't argue, it grows stronger. Instead, give it a job. If you want to protect me, help me set one clear boundary in one clear sentence right now. Turn prosecutor into logistics. Example, I can look at this task at 3 p.m. Polite firm, locking the present. In America's busy rhythm, tiny grounding rituals help. Try the 90-second ritual. When pulled into a storm, gaze at a still object, a cup table, edge silently describe 3 details: smooth surface, scratch mark, light reflection, then count 10 breaths in and out. Complexes are fire, details of now are water. Or try the one-sentence rule. Instead of fixing their whole life, speak one sentence for the threat and value. I've finished my thought. I need 24 hours. I'll take care of my part. Each line is a nail keeping the door of the present from blowing open. I invite you to practice together. In the comments, write 2 lines. My complex is often triggered by, and one warm, clear boundary I'll try is, seeing others with the same uninvited guests lessens shame and fuels courage. Share your grounding tricks. 2 music, a walk, a mantra. Your tool might save someone who just snapped today. And if you wonder why after years of holding it in do I flip so hard from comforter to explosive, from rescuer to cutter off, stay tuned. Next, we'll explore enantiodromia, when one extreme is pushed too far. Life rebounds to its opposite like a swinging pendulum, sometimes loud, sometimes fierce. Understanding the pendulum helps not to blame yourself, but to pause it at the center where compassion has a spine, where you don't need to explode to be heard. If this part revealed your uninvited guest, stay with me. Next time, we'll learn how to use the pendulum's very force to find a new center. Not mushy, not rigid, but steady. You can notice the takeover through the body. Vision narrows like a tunnel. Heat floods your face or cold creeps into your hands. Breath turns shallow, and the same old inner story plays like a broken record. I have to rescue them. No one sees my effort. If I say no, I'll be abandoned. In minutes, the person in front of you morphs into a mirror of the past. Your boss becomes your parent. Your partner turns into the one who left. Your colleague becomes the weak sibling you had to protect. You're no longer responding to the present, you're reacting to memory. Take some ordinary scenes. Emma, 29. Thanksgiving dinner. Her mother-in-law casually says, "You look tired. Are you sure you can handle that new job?" A pinprick comment. Emma smiles, but when her husband later mentions her parking, she snaps. No one in this family respects me. She wasn't only answering her husband, she was answering a lifetime of doubt. Juritvad, 37, reads a Slack ping Monday morning. Please review PR ASAP. That one word ASAP rekindles childhood nights, waiting for a father who never came home on time. He dives in, cancels the gym, and snaps at his partner that evening. He calls it responsibility. His body knows it's abandonment, panic. Priya, 34, sees the message. We need to talk. Her stomach knots, her heart races. She rereads every chat, apologizes endlessly. Tries to fix things not even broken. 2 words need to talk ignite the old complex of criticism, a wind blowing since childhood. Here's the paradox. The kindest people often get hijacked, most because they've frozen out their rightful aggression, the right to say no, to set limits, to be disappointed. What's frozen doesn't vanish. It sinks into the shadow. The snap is shadow returning with back pay energy. Your voice cuts like a blade because you silenced fire for too long. You slam doors because you left them open, too wide, too long. From the lens of alchemy, this is Negredo, the black stage of transformation. Uncomfortable, chaotic, but necessary to melt down the old roles. So what to do when the complex storms the cockpit? Jung would say, create conscious distance between me and it. A simple, powerful move is to switch pronouns. Instead of I am furious, try it anger is present in me. This tiny shift puts you back in the pilot's seat. You're no longer the storm. You're the one watching it pass. Then turn on the 4 lights of awareness, the 4 psychological functions. Sensation. What do I feel in my body? Hot face tight, belly trembling, hands. Feeling what value feels threatened, dignity, fairness, being seen. Thinking, what facts are true? What is memory's distortion? There's a quiet law of inner life Jung often pointed to. When you push one pole to its extreme, the psyche will snap back toward the opposite. He called this movement enantiodromia, the pendulum turning back. For empaths, this looks very ordinary. The harder you try to be the nice one, the more you stockpile all the unsaid no's and unnamed resentments. Until one day the door bursts open and you snap, you turn cold, rigid, even harsh with the very people you once soothed. It sounds scary, but behind the turn is the unconscious restoring balance. The starved part comes home to claim a seat. The fear is in the speed and intensity. The gift is in the message. It's time to adjust the midpoint. In deadline-heavy American workplaces, one way to cut amplitude is boundary by numbers. Don't say I'll do whatever it takes. Say I have 30 minutes today or I can take 2 tasks. Not just ping me, but I respond within 24 hours to non-urgent asks. Numbers are tracks that guide energy. They protect you from flooding and help others predict you, lowering their anxiety and indirectly lowering your pressure. We also need to name reversals in love where the pendulum nests deepest. Noah is always the comforter. After months of unanswered texts, he suddenly ghosts his girlfriend for a week, not out of cowardice, but because something in him said, "If I don't stop, I will vanish." Mira, the listener who became an emotional mailbox one day, says, "You need a therapist, not a girlfriend." Playing therapist. It sounds harsh, but might be the lifeline, a call for healthy boundaries. The lesson: don't wait for a violent swing. Practice center phrases like, "I want closeness and I need a rhythm." "I'm here with you and I need to close this topic tonight so I can sleep." I'd love for you to help shrink the swing with collective wisdom. In the comments, write 2 lines. My usual one-sided extreme is, and one safe opposite act. I'll try this week is, as we read one another, we'll see the pendulum isn't just your quirk. It's a human rhythm in each of us. Share your favorite middle ritual, to a mantra, a device-free hour, a kind refusal. Your idea might be the nail that holds someone's door steady tonight. And once we've attuned to the pendulum, there's a quiet player that often oils the hinge, animus/anima, the inner counterpart archetype. For many empaths, a negative animus becomes the inner prosecutor. Save everyone, don't trouble anyone, be perfect. That voice shoves the pendulum into self-sacrifice, then lights the fuse for an explosion once you're over capacity. In the next part, we'll name animus intrusions in the savior syndrome. Why a stern inner monologue can wear moral clothing. Why it feels like gospel, and how to transmute the prosecutor into an ally, a force that builds boundaries and gives you a voice. From there, we'll see the alchemical vessel structure, ritual, and boundaries as a vias that contains the fire so the gold can form without burning down the house. If this helped you find your own rhythm, stay with me. The road ahead won't make you feel less. It will help you feel rightly. Speak rightly and love rightly at a sustainable center your soul has longed for. Picture a wall clock. For years, your emotional pendulum has been yanked left. I'll take this on. Let me cover that. It's fine. I'm fine. Each overgiving moment stores energy to fling it right. When it finally swings back, you hear yourself speak with icy edges, hang up mid-call, delete a family member's number, or slam Slack shut like a gate. You say, "This isn't me," but it is you, the part you exiled, demanding to exist. In alchemical language, this is nigredo, the black phase. Things fall apart, so raw material can be seen. It won't last forever. It's an invitation to pause the pendulum at the center where compassion grows a spine. Everyday examples make the swing easier to see. Avery, a restaurant manager in Austin, covered missing shifts for 2 years. "Guests need service. The team needs me," he told himself. One busy Saturday, when the hostess asked for a 15-minute break, the usually gentle Avery snapped, "Is no one here an adult?" Not just irritation, his forgotten right to require had surged. Marisol, a single mom in San Jose, kept yielding to her ex to keep the peace for their child. Last-minute schedule changes, extra childcare hours. One day when he ran 45 minutes late, she texted, "From now on, changes within 24 hours are declined." It looked cold, but really the midpoint arrived. Ben, a young therapist, overbooked clients because he couldn't bear to say no. After a heavy session, he found himself snapping at a cashier over a discount. Ben wasn't cruel. Ben's long-suppressed defense line finally showed. The key question isn't, how do I never swing, because the psyche always compensates. Better to ask, how do I reduce the amplitude and increase the finesse of the turn? 3 foundations help. Step 1, botch your one-sided creed. Write the slogans you live by. I'm easygoing. I don't bother people. I handle pressure well. Next to each list, the price: burnout, quiet anger, disconnection from your body. Then name the healthy opposite. I'm clear I'm allowed to ask. I prioritize recovery. By naming both poles, you draw a map. Now the middle isn't vague anymore. Step 2. Schedule a safe opposite day. Once a week, choose one small opposite action in a safe container to consciously discharge so the unconscious doesn't need to yank you back. If you always reply instantly, add a 2-hour delay to non-urgent emails. If you always say yes, practice. Let me check my calendar and truly check it. If you always mop up the team's emotions, try staying silent in one meeting. Just take notes. This isn't performing, it's intentional counterweighting that teaches your nervous system the opposite won't kill you. It gives you your breath back. Step 3. Anchor the middle with tiny rituals. Pendulum slow with rhythm. Morning a mirror note. Today my kindness has boundaries. Noon 3 minutes looking at the sky or leaves, reminding yourself the present is larger than old stories. Late afternoon, review your calendar and delete 10% of non-essentials. Night, write one line about a middle move you kept, even a small one. Loving small steps teaches your system that the center is safe. When you understand the pendulum, you stop asking, why did I suddenly become awful, and start asking, what has been starved? The answers are often righteous and anger, the need to be seen, the right to be imperfect, truth-telling. Anger, when not inflated by complexes, is a compass. It points to what you value. Try a 7-day drill. Every time you bristle, name the threat and value: respect, fairness, time, freedom. Then one small protective act. Say, I need 24 hours decline. A quick favor, propose a new deadline. You're training the pendulum to stop at the center with action, not just willpower. Here's another subtlety. When the swing hits cold, many empaths feel shame and scurry back to the old warm extreme. The loop repeats. Instead of self-indictment, use dignity. Language: today I went too far. I'm sorry for how I said it, and my need is real. The "and" doesn't excuse. It holds the double truth. I own my tone and I honor my content. In U.S. culture, people respect responsibility and clarity. This keeps the door of dialogue open without throwing away the pendulum's message. In Jung's language, the human soul always carries within it an inner opposite. For women, the animus is the inner masculine archetype, the source of logos, reason, boundaries, the ability to name and claim one's truth. For men, the anima is the inner feminine archetype, the source of eros, connection, empathy, softness. Step 1. Give the animus a job. Assign that inner voice a specific, small, useful role, like a logistics officer, not a judge. When it says, you must reply right now, answer. All right, if you want to protect me, help me write one clear sentence and schedule it for 2 hours later. When it says, never disappoint anyone, ask, today, what is one commitment I can realistically keep? Each time you turn absolute commands into limited actions. That's how you reclaim territory. A positive animus is a sword at the heart side, not a blade at your throat. Step 2. Guided dialogue. This is a form of active imagination breathed into daily life. At night, when the house is quiet, sit upright, place your hand on your chest, and gently call forth the figure. The man within me. Show yourself as a truthful friend. Let your mind sketch him, perhaps a teacher, a brother, or a traveler. Ask 3 questions and write down the first words that flash through uncensored. What are you protecting in me? What specific boundary do I need to set in the next 48 hours? If I do that, what's the worst that might happen, and how will I care for myself? Often the allied animus speaks briefly, firmly, without scolding. If the voice is long-winded, absolute, or contemptuous, it's still the prosecutor. And the talk reschedule. Don't argue. You don't need to win, you need to choose the right inner partner. Step 3. Break the savior myth by testing reality. If I don't do this, everything will collapse. Is that true? Try letting life answer. For 1 week, reduce your helping by 20%. Set numerical limits. I have 30 minutes today. I'll take 2 extra tasks this week. Watch what really breaks. Usually what collapses is the illusion of control while reality keeps running, sometimes even better because others must grow up. In alchemical terms, this is turning down the fire so the vessel doesn't crack. Lowering the heat trains the nervous system to discover new safety. Examples show how small moves create big shifts. Hannah, a teacher in Denver, used to grade extra work for the whole class because they needed it. She started sending a template email. I'll respond within 48 hours for late work. After that, the feedback will be brief. Result students submit on time and Hannah is less drained. Miguel, a product manager in Miami, made a team rule. Every urgent request must define urgency, lost revenue, waiting customer, broken system. Within 2 weeks, false urgencies dropped by half. Sophia, a therapist in New York, learned to say, "I understand this is heavy for you, and I am not available outside therapy hours. We'll work on it in our next session." That sentence, clear yet warm, revealed a truth: boundaries don't kill connection. They sustain it over time. But note this, the negative anima can join forces with the negative animus to intensify the savior pattern. We save to be loved, then blame ourselves for not doing enough. We cling to not lose, then collapse and run away. To undo this handshape, soften the anima by returning to the body. Breathe slowly, place your hand on the heaviest spot. Describe 3 details in the room: the light on the wall, a scratch on the desk, the sound of a car outside. This opens the present moment. When integrated, the animus helps a woman speak words that are both clear and warm. The anima helps a man be tender without dissolving. But when repressed or distorted, these archetypes invade us like occupiers. The negative animus becomes a prosecutor. You must be perfect. You must save everyone. You're not allowed to be weak. The negative anima turns into a flood of emotions, idealizing, then despairing, clinging, then draining. Invite the allied animus to pose one clear, kind question. Act within 15 minutes if possible. Send the email, reschedule. Say, "I'll check and get back to you." When Eros is soothed and Logos has a task, the savior energy shifts from commander to servant. So I invite you now to join in community. In the comments, write 2 short lines. The prosecutor in me often says, and the clear, warm sentence I will use instead is, read each other's lines, borrow each other's middle paths. You might also share a number rule that eases your savior reflex. How many minutes max on Slack after 6 p.m.? How many help favors per week? When many people practice together, we form a field of healthy boundaries, a collective vessel that helps each person overflow less. And now, having seen the invasions of animus and anima and unwrap the cloak of the savior, we need a vessel to hold and transform this energy. Otherwise, each time life turns up, the heat raw metal will spill again. In Jung's beloved alchemical language, that vessel is the vase, a structure that repeats with salt, gentle discipline, with fire, focus, with time, patience. In the next section, we'll ignite the inner furnace, building the vessel through visible, measurable boundaries, through short rituals that cool the storm, through symbols like the mandala that give the psyche a new center. You'll see it's not about feeling less, but about feeling in the right place, speaking at the right time, and living at the right scale. If this stirred a boundary waiting to be spoken, write it down now. In the next part, we'll place that sentence into the vessel so the fire burns long, warm, without burning down your house. For empaths, this invasion often hides behind a moral mask. I'm doing this out of love. While the body is exhausted and righteous, anger is buried deep. Let's observe some very American scenes moments where the inner voice rules more than we realize. Grace, 31, a project manager in Seattle. Every morning before opening her email, she hears a dry, cold voice. Don't make mistakes. Don't bother anyone. Handle it yourself. She calls it discipline, but it's really the negative animus, a logos cut off from the heart. When colleagues ask for help, she says, "I'll take care of it," not out of desire, but because the voice hisses. Saying no is selfish. By evening, Grace is irritable, blaming herself for being ungrateful. In truth, she's obeying a false commandment. Omari, 35, works in sales in Chicago. He's kind, great at connecting, but whenever his girlfriend says we need to talk, his negative anima rises like a tide. He imagines tragedy, floods her with messages, makes grand promises to soothe her. Days later, he collapses, explodes, then wonders why he suddenly feels cold and guilty afterward. Tessa, 28, a nurse in Boston, carries a savior complex. She stays after 12-hour shifts to ease the next shift, buys coffee for the whole unit, takes on the toughest patients because I can handle it. But when a colleague shrugs off her effort, Tessa swallows it until one day she snaps in the break room. Why am I always the one doing the extra? Tessa isn't bad. She's been led by the negative animus for too long, and the shadow has come to demand justice. The subtle danger is that this savior voice often speaks in moral language. Helping is good. Everyone's busy. Just push yourself. Don't make things harder for people. It sounds noble, but look at the results: a body in distress, hollow boundaries, relationships tinged with resentment. Jung would remind us true morality lies in wholeness, not in idealization. Goodness without boundaries quickly turns into intrusion on self and others alike. When the negative animus speaks in absolutes, must always never remember, it's the voice of dogma cut off from real life. True logos doesn't judge, it illuminates and defines. So how do we transform the prosecutor into an ally? An alchemy gold is not born from desire alone. It requires a vessel, a structure that can withstand fire sealed enough to hold vapor yet strong enough not to crack when the heat rises. Jung borrowed this image to speak of healing. Our raw emotions, righteous anger, sorrow, fear, are not meant to be discarded but cooked inside a vessel, both outer and inner. A strong vessel doesn't exist in isolation. It requires agreements of relationship. At work, that means defining exactly what urgent means. Revenue, impact, client waiting, infrastructure down. Miguel brought this rule into his team, and within 2 weeks, false urgencies dropped in half, and everyone breathed easier. In families, the vessel takes shape as sacred hours. No devices between 9-10 p.m. or a 15-minute check-in with 3 questions. How is your body today? What are you proud of? What's one specific request for tomorrow? When language has its place, the emotional pendulum swings less wildly. In love, the vessel may be a 2-part sentence. I am here with you, and I need to close this topic in 20 minutes so I can rest. It may sound like closing a door, but in truth, it's keeping the door open for years to come. We also need a first aid kit for the moment we're about to snap. Remember the word stop. Stand still for 10 seconds. Turn inward, notice one main body sensation. Observe, name the value being threatened. Respect fairness. Breath. Proceed, move forward with one middle sentence. Ben, a young therapist, taped stop inside his phone case. At the checkout counter, instead of snapping, he breathed, realized fairness was the value at stake, and said, I misunderstood the discount sign. If it can't apply, I'll choose another item. No heroics, just keeping his seat at the wheel. There are also micro contracts you can sign with yourself so the vessel doesn't crack. For those who feel deeply, that vessel takes very human names, calendar, boundaries, rituals, and conscious community. Without a vessel, we boil over. With one, we simmer steadily and transform. The Torah rule: cancel and print of non-essential commitments each week. The 3-breath rule: before saying yes, take 3 slow breaths. The 2-door rule: 1 door for what enters. What will I allow? 1 door for what exits. What will I return to its rightful owner? Write these down, post them on your fridge. They don't make you robotic, they turn your kindness into a river with banks. And because Jung always invited us to work with symbols, try a simple but profound ritual, the boundary mandala. On a round page or within a drawn circle, write the 4 words around the rim: salt, fire, water, air. In the center, write 1 core value for the week, for example, dignity. Each morning, mark a dot in the quadrant you want to nurture. Today, I need salt, fewer favors. Today, I need water, gentleness with myself. Today, I need fire, finishing 1 task. Today, I need air, 10 minutes outdoors. At night, record 1 grain of gold. You discovered a middle sentence spoken, a silent pause, kept a feeling returned to its rightful place. After 21 days, you'll hold not just a drawing, but your own map of transformation. The vessel also needs community. Alchemy alone is heavy. Even 2 or 3 can help keep the fire steady. So I invite you right here in the comments to share 3 lines. 1 salt rule I will try is, 1 source of steady fire for me is, 1 water air ritual that helped me land is, reading each other's words. You will borrow middle sentences, small rituals, and most importantly, the sense of not being alone. When many empathic people agree to reduce unconscious rescue by even 20%, the world around them begins to shift. Others are forced to grow while they themselves stop burning out. Of course, there will be days when the vessel cracks. That is okay. In alchemy, breaking is part of the apprenticeship. The difference is that now you know how to mend. Add salt, reset a boundary. Reduce fire, pause your response. Add water, soothe yourself. Open air, call a friend who listens without fixing. You are not failing, you are experimenting, learning the right temperature for your life. And each repair makes the vessel stronger, like a heart muscle that grows resilient through contraction. If by now a boundary sentence has risen in you or a small ritual waits to be practiced, don't let it pass. Write it down, share it in the comments, or send it to a trusted friend who can witness it. 1 well-timed sentence can save a day. 1 repeated ritual can save a season. and one strong vessel can save a life. Let us begin with salt, the element that preserves, that keeps matter from rotting. Salt in modern American life often takes the form of numbers. I respond to non-urgent emails within 24 hours. Or I have 30 minutes available today. Or I can take on at most 2 help me out requests per week. Salt is also a clear but warm statement. I can listen until 3 p.m. Then I must leave to pick up my child. Or I can help with part A, part B is yours to handle. Adding salt doesn't make the dish harsh, it keeps the connection fresh. Grace, a project manager once exhausted by overwork, said an auto-reply after 6 p.m., "I'll review this tomorrow morning." Strangely, her team respected her more. What decreased was not kindness, but confusion. Next comes fire, the steady heat of attention. Complexes are like wild flames. We don't need more of that. What we need is hearth fire, stable, consistent, not raging. Hearth fire shows up as small anchors in the day, 90 seconds of gazing at a still point, 10 slow breaths, 1 mindful sip of water, or a boundary-setting phrase before replying, "I'll need 24 hours." Or, "Could you define what urgent means?" Omari, often swallowed by the dreaded message, "We need to talk," trained himself to notice 3 details in the room before typing any reply. He discovered that most urgency was nothing more than old echoes, not the present moment. Water is compassion in the right place, first for ourselves, then for others. Water flows when we create a ritual of landing after each emotional storm. After Thanksgiving, Emma began writing, "Today. Anger appeared to protect my dignity. The expression was too much, but the need was real." Placing her hand on her chest, she whispered, "Thank you for protecting me. From here, I'll speak on my own." 5 minutes yet, her body understood the storm need not be banished, it only needed to be welcomed home. Air is distance and perspective, the ability to see when the same old story is repeating. You can sketch a simple alchemy map, a mandala divided into 4 quadrants. Body, feeling, thought, intuition. Each night, write 1 line for the day's events. Over time, you'll notice where fire burns, too hot water overflows, salt is missing, or air is absent. Tessa, a nurse, drew her mandala during 10-minute breaks. She noticed that days without air were always the days she hadn't stepped outside. So she set a sky break reminder, 3 minutes to look at the sky. No, the sky doesn't fix the healthcare system, but it reminds the body the present is bigger than the old story. Perhaps the scariest thing is not the day the empath breaks, but the years before it, when we smile instead of speaking the truth, when we carry emotional suitcases with no name tags, when we mistake kindness for erasing ourselves from the picture. Thank you for spending this time here. I'll see you in the next video, where we continue the goldsmith's work, not simply fixing the outer world, but refining the inner one, so that with each passing day you carry less of other people's lives and live more of the life that was always yours. If you followed me through the dark curves of the shadow, through the hiss of complexes gripping the steering wheel, through the violent swing of the pendulum, through the moral courtroom where the negative animus wields the gavel, and finally into the alchemical kitchen where the vase is built of salt, fire, water, and air, then you may see the fuller picture. The snap is not the end. It is a doorway. It is the knock of the starved life returning, demanding a seat at the table. And when you let it sit down, light a candle, pour it tea, you begin what Jung called individuation, the journey toward wholeness. Picture yourself on a quiet night, the city still rushing outside, but in your small room, you sit upright, hand on chest, breathing slow. You see the fragments, the moment you set a boundary without raising your voice. The email you delayed 2 hours and the world did not collapse. The small dialogue with the inner man where he is no longer a prosecutor, but a dignified gatekeeper. The mandala whose 4 corners, body, feeling, thought, intuition, are now filled with gentle strokes. Each piece is a grain of gold. Gold doesn't shout, it simply adds weight to your being. That is your new center of gravity, no certificate required. And if you ask, but what if I break again? Then you will break with more awareness, knowing how to spot the signs in your body, how to pause for 10 seconds, how to ask for 24 hours, how to shift into the observer. You don't promise I'll never explode again. You choose when the fire comes, I'll have a hearth. Compassion doesn't shrink, it grows a spine. Those you love will feel the change. You no longer rescue them out of fear, but walk with them out of respect for their freedom. At work, you no longer play firefighter. You become a system builder, defining what urgent means, carving channels, empowering the team to grow. In love, You no longer give until you're empty. You love from the middle where tenderness doesn't erase each other's maps. The strange thing is, when you step half a step out of the savior role, the world doesn't hate you. It simply adjusts. Some relationships revealed to be one-sided will quietly fall away. Others will finally breathe because no one has to guess in the fog anymore. And then you'll hear the small voice that had been buried, the call to create you postpone the journey. You delayed the afternoon you needed just to do nothing. These are not selfish, they are nourishment for the soul, so that tomorrow you have something real to give. If this video touched you in a very human place, I invite you to leave a marker right now, a short, honest sentence like nailing a hinge on a door. On the day I broke what was really starving to us, or one warm, clear boundary I'll speak this week is, or my 5-minute ritual to land back in myself is, write it in the comments. When many of us write together, you'll notice something simple but profound. You are not alone. Your middle sentence may become the track for someone else tonight, just as theirs once became yours. And if this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe so you won't miss the next journeys. We'll keep exploring the symbols. Jung cherished dreams as pathways, mandalas as maps, alchemy as the language of transformation. We'll walk through archetypes, mother, father, wanderer, lover as faces of our own psyche. We'll learn how animus can guard as a sword, anima can flow as soft water, and the self can shine as a small sun that warms the whole. Here, you won't be promised miracles. You'll be invited into small practices, 10 breaths, one middle sentence, one pause of silence, one line of drawing, one nod to the exiled part of you. Before we part, let me leave you with one last image, a midnight shore. Cold wind, steady wave sky, skittered with stars. On the sand, a faint light your candle. Smaller than the sea, weaker than the wind, dimmer than the stars. Yet it is the center point, the place you can return each day. The place where unfinished words can be spoken, where what is not yours can be laid down, and what truly belongs to you can be placed on the table. That candle is not for display. It is for living. And when many candles stand together, the shore is not as dark as before. If this closing eased you even 1 degree, leave a comment. And if you feel it's worth it, like and subscribe, not for the algorithm, but to give yourself a place to remember my compassion has a spine, my dream has space, and my shadow when name becomes power.